Hey everybody, Heather here. So today I thought we could color this cute CC Designs Henry Claus image up. And this was a special image they made up, and part of the sales go to Toys for Tots. So of course I wanted to pick up a few so I could do my part for that. And he's super cute anyway, so I probably would have picked him up anyways. Also remember, all my kits are limited, so if you want one, head over to the store and grab one right away, because there's only a couple of these left, and then when they're gone, they're gone. So I've already stamped my image on Nina 80-pound silver white cardstock with Memento Tuxedo black ink. So let's color. So I'm going to go ahead and outline my image with C0, and I do this so that it looks like it's kind of popping up off the page a little bit. So I'm just going to take my C0 and I'm going to go all the way around my boy here. I love his little puppy dog there inside of his bag. That's cute. And C0, it won't show up very much once it's dry. There's a little patch right here of background in between his hair there. But it just gives it just a little bit of something extra. It makes it look like it's kind of popping up a little bit. And here, and there's a little patch right here. And back around to the bottom. So next, let's give him something to stand on, and for that I'm going to use W3, W1, and W0, and I'm going to start with W3, and let's see, let's go, he's leaning more this way, so I'm just going to give him a little bit of a shadow out like this, just a little bit. His bag's going to cast a little bit there. I'm going to come over this way, and then on this side, I'm going to bring it out just a little bit more. That. Maybe like this. Okay, and then I'm going to grab W1, and I want to go over the top of that. I'm going to go right over the top of this and bring that line out just a little bit more. Go over the top here a little bit. Just soften that edge up. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab W0 and do exactly the same thing. I'm going to add just a little bit on top of that, and this way it pulls my shadow up a little bit behind him too. And go above this line and pull out here. And now I've blended away the darkest color, so I'm going to go back and get my W3 again, and I'm just going to brush that back on just a little bit. That, and then I'm just going to leave it just like that. So next, let's go ahead and do his skin, and for that I'm going to use E21, E00, E000, and for his cheeks I'm going to use R20 and R30, and this is just my favorite skin tone. If you have a favorite skin tone, go ahead and just use that, and there's also a list over on the store blog, if you look under Copic skin tones under labels there, that'll pull up a few extra ones that you could try out. So I'm going to start with E21. And I'm going to go right along the bottom of his fingers here. Just give him a little bit. He's got a couple of little indents there. I'm going to go ahead and do those. And then I'm going to grab E00. And I'm going to fill that space in. It's awfully small, so we're not going to put any more color on there. And just fill that little hand in. And if you wanted to darken it up, you would just go right back over that. So next I'm going to go do his face. So I'm going to grab E21 again. And let's give his little ear here a little bit of shadow and a little crease right there. And then he's kind of tilted down on this side, so I'm going to go ahead and brush this side of his face just a little bit more. And then let's go up here and go underneath of his hair. Give that a little bit of a shadow. And then I'm going to come down this side of his face. And he's got kind of a little cheek right here. I'm going to kind of bring my pen in just a little bit and give that a little dip in right there. And we're going to come down here and connect to the bottom. And then also for his nose, I want it to have a little bit of a definition. So I'm going to take my pen and I'm just going to go like this. Give him a little bit of line right there. And then I'm going to grab my E00. And I'm going to start over here again. So I'm going to brush a little bit on his ear, fill in down here at the bottom, leave a little patch there at the top for my lightest color. And then we'll come up here and just brush right along this, soften that line up. Let's go down this side of his nose, go around like this. And I'm not worried, if I color over his eye, I'm not worried because we're going to color that black anyway. Okay, that looks pretty good for a first coat. So now I'm going to grab E00. I'm just going to fill that in. And again, I'm not worried about his eye, so I'm just going to color right over the top of that. Okay. And it's still got a few lines there, but that's okay because I'm going to come back again after I put my cheek color on. So I'm going to grab R20. And let's give him a couple of cheeks. Right here and right here. He wants to be a rosy cheek boy. And then I'm going to grab R30. And I'm just going to go right along the edges. Okay, and then I'm going to start over with his face color. So I'm going to have E21. And let's do a little bit right here. We're just going to brush right along this edge right here. And I think I'll do his nose just a little bit more right here. And then, let's go ahead and put this cheek right back on there a little bit, like that. Then I'm going to grab E00, go down here and soften this line up. I'm going to brush right over that cheek. And do the same thing with this side. We're going to brush right along that edge and right over that cheek. And of course I colored right there, so I better do that one again. And then I'm going to grab E00 and we're going to fill it in. I'm just going to brush right over the top of that whole thing. And I forgot his ear at the top of his ear right there, so let's get that real quick. Like that. And I think his cheeks have kind of faded out there a little bit, so I'm going to grab my R20 again. Give him another touch of color like that. So next, let's go do his hair, and for that we're going to use E44, 43, and 42. And let's go just a little bit here. Okay, so I'm going to start with my E44, and let's start over here on this side. His hair kind of bumps up right here. I'm going to make it say this goes underneath. So I'm just going to put a few little streaks right there. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here on this side where it's kind of coming out. And then down here where it's pulling away from his hair, I'm going to go ahead and just bring this line down and pull some of that down. Looks pretty good. And then up here where his hair kind of bunches up there, I'm going to say his hair is going to start right here. And I'm just going to pull some streaks down away from his hat top there. But I want to keep my streaks going in the direction the hair is growing. So how this side kind of goes up, I want my streaks to go that way. And this one I'm going to pull down here just a little bit more so that one can get just a little bit more in there. Then I'm going to grab E43 and I'm going to just go right over the top. I want to add a little bit more. Okay, that looks good. And then E42. Fill it all the way in. Go backwards here so I don't color his face. Get a little crazy sometimes with my coloring. And then I like to go back after I've colored it and put the dark streaks back in. So I'm going to grab my E44 again. I'm just going to go back in here and put a few little strands of hair in there. And usually my streaks go down a little bit further than they did the first time. And they're not exactly on the same place that I put them on originally. Turn it here a little bit so I can see a little bit better. So let's go ahead and color his eyes too while we're up here. So for that I'm going to use my 100 pen. And I'm just going to dab a little bit of my ink in there and fill these in. And then after I got done coloring, I'm going to take my white Sharpie paint pen and just give him a little pupil in there. Okay, since I have the browns out, let's go up here and do the bag that he's holding. So I'm just going to use E44, 43, 42, and 41. I'm going to start with E44. And let's do the little sack right here that he's holding in his hand. So I'm going to take my E44 and I'm going to color down each one of these lines that he's got there. And then I'm going to do a little bit underneath on the edge of that sack. And then I don't know what this little thing right here is, but I'm going to make it the bag just so I can get rid of it. It's not really part of his jacket or part of, it's not, maybe it's supposed to be his thumb coming around the thing. Oh well. It's now part of the sack. It just looks off right there in that spot. Okay, and we'll go up here and we'll give this section a little bit like that. And then I'm going to grab E44 to fill it in. This it's going to be pretty dark right there where he's holding it next to his face underneath of his hat and all that stuff. So we're just going to go ahead and scrub this down. Do right here. I left a little bit of white there at the end, so let's take the E42 and fill in this bottom section just a little bit. And then I want to darken up my shadows a little bit more, so I'm going to go ahead and take my E44 again and go over those lines that the artist put on our bag for us. Okay, and then I'm going to go up here and we're going to do this sack. So let's go ahead and do right next to his face. And I forgot his ear right there. So we'll go back and do that here in a minute. And we're going to get each of those little crease lines. And then let's brush up away from his body a little bit. There, like that. Like that looks pretty good. And then he's got the bags kind of folded over right here. So I want to go next to that fold. This one, and then the little puppy's kind of indented in here, so let's go ahead and give a little dark in there like that. That looks pretty good. Then we're going to grab E43 and I'm going to go up here underneath my puppy, and then we want to go underneath this little wrinkle on his sack. And we'll just come down here and bring that color around and soften that line on from our E44. Okay, and then I'm going to grab E42. I want to fill in this little bitty patch that's left up here from the puppy. And then I'm going to bring this color along the bottom right here. And fill that in with E41. And even though I filled it in down here, I'm going to go ahead and go right over the sack again down here, and that will help blend all those colors together. Like so. So let's fix his ear right here, and for that I'm going to use E21, since I forgot it, and E00. Like that, just fill that right in there. So for the dog, we're going to use W5, W3, E53, and E50. I kind of wanted to give him a dirty, kind of crusty look. So I'm going to start with my W5, and I'm going to add that to where his hat is touching his ear, just underneath there a little bit, and down the inside. And then right here his hat's touching his ear, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, over to his little eyebrow. And then I want to bring my color down around the bottom of his face, like this. Okay, and then for this ear, I want to get the bottom of this ear and come along the underneath of his hat right there. And then let's go ahead and get his little paws. And then let's do underneath of his chin there a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to go with W3. And I just want to pull that line out just a little bit. So I'm going to go right along the edge. And just pull that up just a tad. And up here, like that. And then I'm going to take E53, and we're going to go right over the top of that. So I've gone right over the top of my W5 and my W3. I'm going to add this right on top of that. And we're going to pull this down like so. Color in his little paws. And then I'm going to go over the entire thing with E50. So I'm going to fill in what white space is left. And I'm just going to go up here, and I'm going to go in a little circle and kind of scrub it around a little bit and move those colors together and just rough them up. And he's looking kind of rough, so I'm going to go ahead and take my W3 again, and I'm just going to pull a little bit more of that color up a little bit further. And then I'm going to take my E50 again and just go over that one more time. I just wanted him to have that dirty, I've been picked up look, I guess. Something different. Rather than black, I wanted him to have a different color than black. Okay, I'm liking that. And he's got his, like, the light shining down in here on his eyes. So now let's do his nose, and for that we are going to use W5, W3, and W0. So I'm going to grab my W5 first, and I'm just going to add a little dab right down here at the bottom, like that. Then I'm going to grab W3. I'm going to brush that up. I'm going to leave a little tiny dab at the top for my W0. And then we're just going to fill that in. And if you wanted his nose to be darker, you would just go over it a second time. So for these colors, I'm also going to use these down here on his boot. So I'm going to use W5, and it's on the top part where his boot folds over. So I'm just going to go right like this. And then he's got a little crease right there. I'm going to grab that. And let's go along the bottom of this one. And then this one, I want to give it a little wrinkle, so I'm going to pull my pin in just like that. And then I'm going to grab W3. And I'm going to fill in right here where it's under his coat. And then we're going to go over here to the side. And this side is underneath him, so I'm going to go ahead and just fill that side the rest of the way in. And I'm going to take W0 to fill in this section over here. And then I'm going to darken this side up again, so I'm going to grab W3. And we're just going to brush that on just a little bit more. And then go over it again with my W0. Like that. So next, let's do his belt, and for that we're going to use W9, 7, and 5. I'm going to start with W9, and he's got a little bitty patch that's showing right over here on this side. So I'm going to just take my pin and dab right over the top of that and fill that in, because it's not very much. And then inside of his belt buckle, I'm going to grab just a little bit on this side, and then let's do the belt that's hanging out. and then of course this side over here. Okay, and then I'm going to grab W7, and I'm going to fill in the rest of his belt buckle, in between his belt buckle there. And we'll grab his belt loop just a little bit more, little hanging part, and then we're going to brush this up. Like that. And then we're going to fill it in with W5. Then we're going to go down here and we're going to do the bottom of his boots. So again, we're going to grab W9. And let's do a little bit of outline here. Right along the bottom. And then up here where he's got this little wrinkle. Get that. And right in here in between his boot. I'm going to fill that in. And then again, I'm going to go along the bottom of this boot. And I'm going to do these little wrinkles and in between his little boot right there. And then I'm going to go with W7. And we're going to fill in the back here. And I'm going to leave a little bit on that one for the top for my little highlight area. And we're going to go up here and let's leave that one just a little bit of white. And we're going to give that white spot with W5. So next, let's do his little buckle here, and for that I'm going to use Y26 and 23. So I'm going to start with Y26, and I'm just going to give it a little brush, like that, and then I'm going to take Y23 to fill that in. And if you wanted it to be darker, you just go over it again. I'm also going to use these colors up here on a couple of my packages, and so I'm going to use it on, he's got this package that's kind of behind right here, so I'm going to go ahead and do Y26 first, and then this package right here we're going to make Y26, and he's got a little bit that shows underneath of his ear, and you could do your packages any way you wanted, like that. And then I take Y23 to fill that in. Here, and do like that. And if you get a little bit of yellow on your package bow, that's okay because we're going to color it green. And it's pretty dark, so should cover it up pretty good. Like this one, I colored a little bit on my package bow right there. Next, let's do the green package, and for that we're going to use G16, 14, and 12. I'm going to start with my G16. I'm going to make this package back here in my dark green. So I'm just going to take my G16 and feather it right up the side there. And then we'll get in between the bow. And over here where the bow is. And then this package, I'm going to make this package bow green. So we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to color the inside of the bow on that one. Okay, and then I'm going to go with G14, and I'm going to color in this back section all the way. And then we'll get each one of these little sections. I'm going to leave a little bit for my lightest color there. The top. And then I'm going to fill it in with my G12. So let's do the blue package, and so that is going to be B02, B01, and B00. So I'm going to start with my B02, and let's do, he's got a little bit of the package showing right here underneath his mouth. I'm going to fill that in, and then let's go up here and do right above his head, his nose. Okay, and then this package over here, I'm going to color my bow blue. So here's a little bit showing through right there. Fill that section in. And go inside the bow. And give that a little dab. Let's do the inside of this bow. Okay, and then I'm going to grab B01. I'm going to go ahead and just fill in this little tiny section I got left there. And this one, let's go, I'm going to fill that in too, there's not much room left there. And then we'll brush this, and we're going to do the same thing over here. Let's give these a little dab. I'm going to leave a little bit of white for my lightest one there at the top. And then B00, right along the top of that bow and shiny it up a little bit. So next, let's work on the fur, and for that we're going to use W3, W1, W0 in the colorless blender. I'm going to start with W3, and I'm going to do the fur on this little hat here. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to dot my pen up and down a little bit there along that shadow line, and same for back here. Just give it a couple of dots, like that. And then let's go over here and we can do the fur on his little arm here. So he's already got some shadows there, so I'm just going to go ahead and follow that. Do a little bit. And he's got a little bit right here. And the bottom of his hat. And then the bottom of this hat over here. I love that there's already some shadow lines there for us. So you're just going to follow a little bit, put a few in there, maybe over here. And maybe over here where it kind of folds around underneath. And then I'm going to grab W1. And I'm going to go back up here to this little puppy hat. I'm going to add a few dots in there for that. And you could leave it white too, because eventually when I got done I put some sparkle fluff on there. So it showed up a little bit, but not too much. And go down here, do the same thing for this arm, bring that up a little bit. And get his hat. And his hat over here. And I think I'll bring this dots up over the top of his head just a little bit. Gonna bring a few in there. And then I'm going to go with W0. And we're going to add a few more over here to this hat. And we'll go down here and add a few of these. And plus this, by putting this light color on there, you're touching some of your other dots and kind of squishing them all together. Go right around over here to this side. Okay. After I got it all colored up the way I wanted, I'm going to take my colorless blender and I'm just going to go right over the top of the whole area and kind of swirl it around and blend all my dots together. Give them a nice squished look. Just add some shade in there. Like so. Alright, so that leaves us with the dreaded red. Red is never my friend. So I'm going to do R89, R29, R27, and R24. I'm going to start with R89, and because my hand is over on this side, I'm going to work from this way to that way so I don't end up with my hand touching something and moving it around, which usually happens, so we're going to try to be careful. So I'm going to start with my R89, and we're going to go, let's go out just a little bit more. We're going to go start over here on his hat. I'm going to take my R89, and I'm just going to flick up like this, and I want to bring this line up here to connect it to that cute little wrinkle, and then I want to go right along the edge of this hat fur like that. Okay, and then I'm going to take R29 next. Same thing, I'm going to just brush a little bit more color on. So I'm brushing right on top of my R89 and then pulling up just a little bit further. And I think I'll go back down, blend that color just a little bit more. Okay, and then I'm going to go with R27. I'm going to bring this up here to the wrinkle because I just want the top of his hat to have the shiny spot. That, and then I take R24 to fill it in. Like that. So next, let's go down here and do his little outfit. So I'm going to again to start with my R89. And let's go ahead and do right in here where his coat's got a little gap. I'm going to fill that in with my R89. And then I'm going to do a little bit on his pants over here. Let's do these pants. And then for his coat, I want to go underneath this little belt. Get that little wrinkle. I'm going to go around over here to clear over to this side. And then this little wrinkle right here, I want to go down that. And then for his sleeve, let's go right up to the bottom of his sleeve. And then we want to get these little wrinkles. Okay. And then he's got a little wrinkle where his coat's squished up there in the back. And let's go ahead and add a little bit right along the edge where his belt is right there. Okay, I'm going to leave it like that. Now I'm going to grab R29. And I'm going to fill in his pant leg down here because there's not very much space left. And then we're going to go right along this pant leg. I think I'll leave just a little bit of white there for my next color. And we're going to come follow all right along the line. And I just want to go right over the top of that R29 and soften it. And get his sleeve. And I'm going to go up here underneath that fur. And let's get his little jacket here. Okay. And then I'm going to go with R27. I'm going to fill in his pants. And then I'm going to fill in this section of his coat over here. And let's go ahead and leave a little bit of light down here at the bottom for some shiny spots. Okay. And then I'm going to take R24 to fill it in. And I usually take my lightest color and just brush over all of the color just to blend it together a little bit better. Okay. Next, let's go over here and do this little hat and the hair and that bow that's left. So again, I'm going to start with my R89. And let's do the bow here first. So inside these bows, inside this bow, and this package bow over here just a little bit. And then I'm going to take 29. I'm going to fill in this little bitty section that's left right here. R27. Running out of room. Put a little bit on top of that. And then we're going to fill that in with our R24. That leaves us with a cute little puppy hat. And so again, I'm going to go with my R89 first. And let's do right along this little wrinkle and right next to the pom-pom. And then I'm going to do right along the bottom there of his hat. I'm going to go with R29 next. I'm going to brush a little bit on top of that. And then R27. Fill in this bottom section. And just leave a little bit of white at the top for our R24. Like that. So that is our Henry Claus all colored up. And here is the finished card. Isn't he cute? Totally adorable. So I took my Sharpie white paint pen and I added that to his eyes, his cheeks. I gave the dogs a couple of dots in his eyes. And then I took some sparkle fluff and I put that on all the fur. And then, of course, I couldn't do without my stickles, so I've stickled up these packaged bows up here on the top. And the cinnamon doesn't come with the kit, but you can buy that separately. It has a bunch of cute little cinnamons that would go with all your great Christmas cards. So I hope you had fun coloring with me today. Again, this is Henry Claus. If you'd like to pick him up, head over to the store because there's only a couple left. And we'll see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.